Is it possible that kids might get distracted from pee or poo because of the activities they're doing during sitting on the toilet? Sure, anything's possible. Anything's possible, but, and if you really think that's a problem, that for some reason they're holding it because of what they're engaged in, then that activity may not be the right thing to have them do while they're sitting on the toilet. But most activities that we have them do while they're sitting on the toilet, whether we're doing rapid toilet training or not, should relax them. And relax equals pee or poo. So anything's possible, but most of the time this isn't an issue. That's kind of all I can say about that. When you're looking for the sweet spot, why don't you round down so you try to catch them before their expected pee time? Well, you could round down by like 5 minutes. It's probably not going to, I mean, remember, you've calculated the average amount of time between wets or the average amount of time when they're going to pee. Average means sometimes it's a little sooner, sometimes it's a little later. So you could round down, you could round up, but average is kind of the midpoint between sometimes sooner and sometimes later. So I like to use average just because it's straightforward. And remember, he's not going, oh, it's an hour and 45 minutes. I need to pee now. He either needs to or he doesn't need to. It's average. So stick with average. It just makes your life easier. From my experience, after mealtime, the child may need to pee sooner than the average length of time. What should we do in this situation? Okay, so that's, sure. If that is a pattern that you're seeing, that after meals, say you're at an hour and 15-minute schedule, but within a half an hour after a meal, he has to pee, and you see that within a half an hour after a meal, you're always seeing a W, do it, go for it. That's fine. Sit him within a half an hour after meals, and then set your hour and 15 minutes from that. Like, I love that question. I love all these questions. There's no such thing as a bad question here, by the way. Sometimes we say, oh, that's a good question, as though the others weren't, but they're all good questions. This is a particularly good question because what you're thinking about is it okay if I individualize, if I see a particular pattern in the data? Mwah! I love you. Absolutely. Go for it. Go for it. How does the schedule depend from liquid consumption events? Okay, so the assumption here in long way training is that you're not giving more liquid than he or she usually gets. You know, I mean, obviously all of us fluctuate on a day-to-day basis how much we drink. Sometimes we drink more, sometimes we drink less, but by and large, you drink about the same amount across a number of days. That's why you took baseline data across a number of days, right? Because you're looking for the average interval length. So it's okay if there's some fluctuation. You're looking for the average time. Maybe I need to explain average a little bit more, right? So average means the midpoint between low days and high days. Average is like the middle of a range of scores. So average is a good place to start because sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's average. So don't worry about up and down liquid fluctuation. What about trainees who are resistant to the toilet because of past experience? I work with many clients who refuse to pull down pants, refuse to sit, etc. So I assume that you're working with older individuals who have had quite a bit of past experience. And I think it's important to acknowledge that there are layers to some people's experience here. Some individuals have a history of trauma, around this entire series of events. Some individuals have a history of trauma around physical abuse or sexual abuse that makes it very challenging for them to engage in these activities in the presence of another person or to allow other people to assist them with these activities. It's very important if your person has that kind of history, and perhaps this is an example of that, whether to engage in all of these training procedures from a trauma-informed perspective. If you're a behavior analyst, there's a great online workshop through CEUE on trauma-informed applied behavior analysis. On the University of British Columbia CIRCA, CIRCA, Center for Interdisciplinary Research and Collaboration in Autism website, there's a terrific 1.5-hour webinar on trauma for behavior analysts. It's very important to understand the impact of past experiences and trauma on some individuals, and you may need to work with someone who understands about trauma-informed treatment to get past some of these past experiences. I don't know for this person that you're thinking of what the past experiences consist of. So I'm kind of assuming the worst, that there were really, really negative experiences. It may be that the negative experiences were simply that they were punished, for example, when they were wet or dry, and you need to make it clear that that's not going to happen to them. It may be that people were giving them reinforcers that weren't really reinforcers and then were upset when they didn't respond accordingly. Well, you can fix that by making sure that your reinforcers are really reinforcing. It's hard to know what issues your person has experienced in the past that's causing this person to refuse to pull down pants or sit or whatever. But I think I would want you to work with someone who understands toilet training from a trauma-informed perspective. Mind you, nothing that we've said wouldn't fit into that in a sense, except that you are in the bathroom with someone in a vulnerable position, and they may, for very good reason, not be willing to engage in vulnerable activities that make them physically vulnerable because of past experience. So that's always a tell for us that there's something more going on here that needs to be dealt with. I'm sorry if I can't be more comprehensive about that, but I think it's really important to, yeah. Do we bring fun activities into the bathroom to help the trainee stay on the potty for long method trip training? Absolutely. If you want to, please don't use a potty. Never use a potty. Use the toilet with a good seating and, comfortable feet. If you use a potty, you're just going to have to transition to the toilet. What's the point? Now you've added a whole series of steps here, so don't use a potty. But absolutely, if you want to or need to keep them on the toilet by having them do fun activities, that's just fine. How do you respond if they only partially empty? Well, I don't know if you know if they only partially empty. I mean, when the stream stops, they're done. You have to, I guess you kind of assume that they have emptied. I mean, if as soon as they get up, they go again, put them back on right away and catch the rest of it, because I guess they didn't empty. But it's hard to know if they've emptied. But I don't know that you know that they've partially emptied unless as soon as they get off, they go again, at which point you kind of get them back on the toilet and catch the rest of it and just count that as, okay, we caught it. Okay? Would you have a visual script to remind them? Absolutely. If you're using a visual schedule with somebody in their day-to-day life, first we do this, then we do this, then we go to the bathroom, then we do this, put that in the visual schedule. Absolutely. What if the child is wet when you take her to sit, but she also pees in the toilet? Would you count that as a total W and a total T? If she pees in the toilet, count it as a T. Early on in trip training, absolutely count it as a T. You want to reinforce peeing in the toilet as much as possible. If she's wet, she could maybe, you don't know when she wet, but yeah, whatever. If she pees in the toilet, count it as a T, reinforce it. If you're on a 1 hour, 45-minute schedule and they initiate pee at 1 hour, do you wait another 1 hour, 45 minutes to take them again, or do you stay on your original schedule? Oh, I love you for asking this because I didn't say that. Yes, if you're on a 1 hour, 45-minute schedule, say, and they initiate at 1 hour, now you reset the clock from the time of the initiation. So the next time they're supposed to go to the toilet is, say, 10:30. But at 10 o'clock, they self-initiate. A miracle has occurred. Okay? Pees in the toilet, 10 o'clock. Now your next 1 hour and 45-minute interval starts from 10 o'clock. So you're now going to take them again at 11:30. Whereas originally, or whatever, 45 minutes later. I can't do the math. So scrap your original schedule, calibrate from the time that they self-initiate. Thank you for asking that. When neutrally cleaning up, changing from an accident, what can you say so they understand? Don't say anything. Don't say a word. Don't say anything. Just change. Ba, 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 ba. If you talk, you run the risk of inadvertently reinforcing wet pants by giving it too much attention. So don't say anything, just change. Time to change. Da, 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 da. Quick, neutral, done. Don't talk. If the trainee who has no speech and AAC, that's augmentative and alternative communication in place, already has some initiation to pee into the toilet but has accidents occasionally, should the communication piece be introduced in the procedure? Yeah, absolutely. Will it discourage the trainee from taking the initiation? No. Well, it depends on what's your environment, right? If you're training at home, if I'm a parent and I'm training at home, I don't necessarily want my kid walking up to me when he has to pee and saying, "Pee, please," pointing to a symbol. It's like, go, just go. At school, however, I want him to ask because it means leaving the room. Probably I have to go with him if I'm the educational assistant. So he has to ask. So yeah, absolutely. I guess maybe I'm misunderstanding the question, and I apologize if I am. You might need to ask it again, but go ahead. If he asks to go, that's initiation. If he asks to go, he's just taking the initiative. It's fine that he asked to go, even at home. If in fact he walked up to mom and dad and said, "Pee, please," oh my God, go. That's initiation. Anything he does on his own is initiation, whether it's asking or going. What if the learner says no and refuses when you announce it's time to go to the bathroom? Well, how would you solve this? First of all, there should be in the bathroom activities that the person will enjoy. So instead of saying, "Let's go to the bathroom," you might say, "Let's go get your Thomas the Tank Engine," which happens to be in the bathroom. So maybe reminding him about all the good stuff in the bathroom, rather than just saying bathroom, will make it easier for him or her to not say no. I certainly would never want you to force someone to go into the bathroom. So depending upon why, he should need to go. And your reinforcers should be so powerful that once he's experienced them a few times, going to the bathroom should be a really pleasant experience for him, because that's where he gets these really cool reinforcers that you've designed. So I'm not sure why he's saying no, unless it's because you're asking him to leave a preferred activity. That's the big reason that people will say no. Here I am watching, Blue's Clues or the Golden Girls or whatever I'm watching, and I'm glued to it, and now you say it's time to go to the bathroom. So you might need to do some pre-warning. You might need to say, Jeffrey, in 5 minutes, it's going to be time to go to the bathroom, right? Or you might turn down the volume or turn off the TV 5 minutes before it's time to go, right? So that you're not peeling him away from a preferred activity. That's one reason that someone might not want to go, but the real question is, why is he saying no? He probably has to pee. And you've made it so fun to go in the bathroom that he should want to go there. If the person really won't sit on the toilet, you need to establish toilet sitting as a behavior before the whole thing starts. You need to reinforce him for sitting on the toilet with his clothes on, sitting on the toilet without, you need to reinforce toilet sitting before you can start any of this, if that's an issue. But most people will do it, even from the outset. Do you always need a tangible reinforcer in addition to praise? You might not always need it, but very likely you will. So our suggestion is you should always include it, at least at the outset, because what the heck, right? Why go down a path of not using what this person's calling a physical reinforcer or a tangible reinforcer? Why go down the path of not using it and then realizing, oh, now I need it, and now you have to start all over again? Do it from the beginning. What the heck? It's not going to hurt. What if finances are an issue to purchase this for a family? Are there alternatives? Honestly, there aren't good alternatives.
No.
Right? If you're in British Columbia and you get...
Oh, they won't pay.
What's it called? They won't?
Funding. No.
Autism funding won't.
No.
But,
maybe at home.
But at home funding might pay for this, especially if it's, it has to be recommended by a professional. But if you're in British Columbia, there's this thing called at-home funding, and they are likely to be able to fund the alarm, the bedwetting alarm, one way or the other. Honestly, it's the most evidence-based solution to nighttime training. So, that's your best bet.
I really did try every bedwetting alarm I could find. Honestly, I have field tested them. I only recommend the chummy one. There are cheaper ones, but they truly they don't work. You're going to end up buying the chummy one anyway, so it is pricey. But check where you live. You might have some equivalent to the way our funding structures are here in BC, where you could maybe claim it in insurance depending on where you are and get some help paying for that. You can sterilize them, and the little wearable one I showed you, the little receiver part that the pee hits, you can get another replacement one of that part for like $10. So we actually just buy a bunch of them and we lend them to families, and we get a new receiver. And you can also sterilize the pad. So if you're somebody who works at a clinic or is in a therapeutic setting where you work with lots of families, you could own them yourself and rent them out and sterilize them. That's a possibility too. So yeah.
Great. Have you ever used the wearable alarm during rapid toilet training or pee trip training, and what were the outcomes?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes. I'm glad somebody asked. You could see the wearable one. It's highly wearable. It's not that big. It looks kind of like a pager, if anyone remembers what those are. And so yeah, we totally use it during daytime training. What's not defined is when you might need that for daytime training. It's a tough call. So if we have trainees who have persistent accidents that are really tough to identify the sort of causes of, then we might add that as something that's sort of a final push to help them. And there's an article in you can see, Pat and I shared a list of references. That's a PDF you can download on the page where you're accessing this, where you downloaded the data sheets. It says toilet training references. In that, we gave you a reference to a study by Lovato and colleagues, 2016. So I think the person who asked this is a behavior analyst who might want to check out that study. It's a review of all studies that have used alarms for daytime training. So it's something that's not super well defined in the research as like a best practice. You must add this, or we would have told you you should do it. But it can be helpful in certain situations. So check out that article. It could be a really good resource for figuring out in your practice when you're supporting families when you might want to use those for daytime.
We don't. I've never used it as a first line of attack.
No.
Nor does Katie. We use kind of non-alarm RTT or non-alarm long way. But in some situations, it might be useful. I can't tell you personally what those. I don't.
Yeah.
What the I can't remember the last time I used one during the daytime, frankly. So I can't say here's the kind of situation. But
it's like sort of we've gone through lots of troubleshooting. We're still seeing some accidents at times we wouldn't expect them. It can be our little final push to help the trainee recognize an accident's happening, just be able to wrap it up and get it. So it's, again, I don't have a rule. Use it now.
Right.
You got to assess the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Somebody asked, which of the two methods is most effective?
Search us.
Katie almost always, Katie's the RTT person, right? So that's most effective for her. She uses it all the time. She's better at it than I am. She's more comfortable with it, blah. I'm the long way person, right? Mind you, we both know how to do the other way, but it really depends on the trainee. Go back to look at what the requirements are from yesterday about how you make the decision about whether to do RTT or the long way, because that will give you some ideas of which way to use for your person. But there's no one best way. That's why we've spent 2 days telling you 2 ways, because one of these ways is more or is highly likely to work for you and your situation. We just don't know which one it is. Right? Is that fair enough?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Will it be considered a punishment for not having a reinforcer in the morning if they wet the bed at night and had no idea about it after they woke up? No, because you're not making a big deal about a wet bed in the morning. You're not going, oh, look, the bed is wet. No wet bed. Not good. You don't get your favorite thing in the whole, you don't get, right? It's nothing if the bed is wet. And woo! Yippee, here's a reinforcer if the bed is dry. By the way, when they wake up with the alarm in the middle of the night and you get them to the toilet, they also get reinforced for peeing in the toilet in the night, ideally with something that doesn't take very long, like a consumable, right? Like give them a couple chocolate chips or a couple gummy bears. Don't give them the iPad because they'll never get back to sleep.
Yeah.
Right? So you need a little subtle reinforcer for peeing in the toilet in the middle of the night, and then you need something fairly major in the morning. But no, that's not going to be an issue, I think. Just to clarify, if the alarm goes off after a drop of pee, the rest happens on the toilet, and then the rest of the night there aren't big accidents, you deliver a reward in the morning. Yes, you got it. That's exactly right. Or do you only deliver the reward if so what if he woke up, he mostly peed in the toilet, he didn't pee for the rest of the night, and now he's dry in the morning? Does he get the reinforcer even though he started peeing and that's what triggered the alarm? Great question.
Yeah, it's a again, they're all great questions. This is a great one. It's a bit of like the fact that it was in this question, it's very small amount of pee, enough to activate the alarm, but the trainee did what they were supposed to do. That we wanted to happen, right? They stopped, they got to the toilet and had a big pee in the toilet. Yes, that is reinforceable in the morning. Yeah. If it's at the point where you're not having to remove a sheet, you're going to be giving a reinforcer in the morning. Yeah,
good. I know my son will need to pee by 5 o'clock in the morning. I go and wake him up and prompt him to go. If I miss this time, he'll wet his bed. He doesn't go by his own yet. Do you think we still need to use the wet bed alarm?
Up to you. Sounds like you got a pretty good thing going there. If he's of the age where you'd like to stop being the helper at 5 a.m., yeah, that could be a good, the alarm could kind of push him towards independence with it a little bit. But I'd err on the side of probably not messing with that. I think it's okay, and I'm guessing he might be young and he's going to grow a little bit, and that problem's going to go away.
A lot of this has to do with age,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Kevin, our fabulous videographer, has a 3-year-old, and we were talking during break because he was asking about nighttime training, and I said, Kevin, do you know what to do now? And he said, yeah, I think I'm not going to do much of anything. Probably that's good. He'll probably grow out of it, right? I mean, he's 3 years old. He wets the bed once a week. Big whoop.
Yeah.
Right?
He
So,
should be, yeah.
you know, if whatever you're doing is working for you, if you're dissatisfied with what you're doing, get the alarm and let the alarm do the work for you. So you don't have to wake up at 5 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
He'll still wake up at 5 o'clock, and so will you, but maybe this will push him toward independence.
Mm-hmm.
What if they continued dribbling even during rapid toilet training? Have you ever used an alarm for day? Yeah, so using the alarm for dribbling is another good option,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you've got a dribbler, using a daytime alarm might be useful for that. Mind you, it depends. You know, if he's in school and it's going off all the time,
Yeah.
the other kids are like, okay, what's with Charlie, right? So you got to be careful.
So, yeah, sometimes if, like, I do sometimes work with trainees who dribbling is kind of the whole problem with toilet training
Yeah,
for them. Like,
yeah.
they actually, they get it. They'll go to the toilet and pee sometimes, but they'll also dribble at times, and that's an issue. Sometimes you don't need one of these procedures like rapid toilet training or the long way. You can actually just do this with an alarm. So that's something that I've done in practice at times, is have the trainee wear an alarm, and then instead of earning reinforcers for peeing in the toilet, because they already do that, they earn reinforcers for staying dry and the alarm not going off. So that's another just way to look at it if the person has an ongoing dribbling issue. It's usually girls or people with female anatomy that I've seen have that issue. For whatever reason, they're dribbling a little at random times. The alarm can tell them, you are now dribbling, and it can kind of help them learn that relaxation, clenching of muscles thing. And we would just give them reinforcers for being dry on a preset interval that we think they can meet. I think, again, a behavior analyst ask that question and might be able to take that information and run with it. So,
okay. During the data collection phase, do you bring the trainee to the bathroom to check if they're wet? If not, what's a socially appropriate way to check at school? Absolutely, you need to bring them to the bathroom.
yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, you can't be checking them in the classroom. Absolutely. Privacy is always part of what you're teaching. Part of the other stuff you're teaching at school is you go in a stall and you close the door. You don't walk out of the stall with your pants around your ankles, and you don't leave the stall door open. All of that extra stuff we're not talking about today. Flushing, pulling, dressing, hand washing, wiping. These are all very important steps, but we've just spent 2 days and all we've done is toilet training. We'd need a whole third day to talk about all of that. So, but absolutely, privacy is a really, really important issue here.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
I'm glad somebody asked that, because if we haven't been clear about it, that's not good. If we're already started trip training, can we take baseline data from where the child is presently instead of 30-minute checks? So if you know already that 30-minute checks are going to be, he's going to be dry, 30, and you're like, I'm more concerned about 60-minute interval. Sure, that's fine. You can do it.
Mm-hmm.
If it makes sense to you, try it with longer intervals, even during baseline. Any suggestion for the child who hides in a closet to poop in his underwear? He's pee trained. Yeah, you've got to do the stimulus fading procedure. Right?
Yeah, and it could, I definitely have done the stimulus fading procedure with underwear too, where we cut a bigger and bigger hole in underwear, if that's what the trainee likes to poop in, right? It doesn't have to be a diaper. It can be, if underwear is what they usually use to poop in, you can slowly cut away a pair of underwear. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like underwear is the thing they associate with poop, so yeah.
Yeah, but hiding in the closet is just,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to get you've got to get him on the toilet and then pooping in the underwear on the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of making the bathroom, fun time.
Yeah.
Sort of. Nonverbal, non-pointing kid, how can he do the self-initiation or telling me he wants to go pee or poop? This is exactly the situation that I talked about before. This is a nonverbal kid who doesn't, apparently, I'm just reading between the lines here, have a viable requesting repertoire, right? He doesn't know how to ask for what he wants. He doesn't have a way of doing that yet. You will not be able to teach self-initiation in an environment where he needs to ask to go, like a school, without establishing a manned repertoire first. So you need to work with a speech-language pathologist who can help you, or a BCBA, who can help you teach the kid how to ask for what he wants. At home, he doesn't need to ask, so this problem of not having a way of requesting shouldn't be an issue, right? But, you know, some things require assistance that we're not prepared to give you. In the context of this workshop, we're sorry. Support for stimulus control issues with period pads. Trainee now only has access during days when trainee only has accidents during days when she has her period. What if tampons or period cups are not an option for the family? Oh,
good
question.
Never had that one, actually.
No, eh?
No.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Yeah, because it makes perfect sense. A period pad would feel
like a
lot
diaper.
like a diaper.
Yeah.
I guess I wonder how far into toilet training this person is. Usually, in my experience, after enough time elapses, putting a diaper back on the person no longer evokes pee or poop. Do you know what I'm saying? The association's sort of broken. So I wonder if this person is relatively newly toilet trained, and when they have the pads on, they're having accidents. And it might be a wait and see, but I don't know. Like that, you can't, that makes perfect sense that you don't really have a viable alternative. The only thing I can think of is there's cool new period underwear.
Yeah.
Like I think one of the brands is Thinx, Thinx. It's highly absorbent underwear, but it looks and feels exactly like underwear, and it's designed for people with female anatomy having their period. You might want to look into that option because it might be the only viable option that's not an insertable period product that feels and looks like underwear. That would be my best bet for that, because you need to get away, if you can, from something that feels like a diaper, which a maxi pad totally could. Yeah. Tough one.
You stumped us.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Katie will now look for this problem, and
I'll be back for version 4 of this in a couple years.
Yeah.
That'll be
when feeding the diaper for a reluctant pooper, could you empty the diaper in the toilet to show them where it's supposed to go?
You could.
You could.
But there's no evidence that that'll really help.
Right.
It can't be the crux of your training.
Right.
It can be this might help, let's throw this in there too, but no, it's not. I've never seen it be the light bulb moment for anybody, unfortunately.
What about trainees who are not currently squatting to poop? They're standing to poop. So Katie kind of talked about that. You need to arrange in the bathroom for them to have handles so they can kind of stand and then maybe lower and then lower and then lower. You got to get them eventually sitting on the toilet. So you might have to shape that. Suggestions for a child who waits until nap time or bedtime to poo in the diaper. Running a scheduled trip with diaper on before the nap isn't reliable for pooping in the diaper on the toilet. How long would you have them sit for? So they poop at nap time or at bedtime pretty reliably.
It does tell us they're somebody where you might need the stimulus fading procedure, but did they say they already are sitting them on the toilet in a diaper?
Running a scheduled trip with diaper on before the nap isn't reliable for pooping in the diaper on the toilet. I don't know, actually. Sorry, we don't know what you mean.
Yeah, if you mean isn't reliable, but sometimes they'll poop in the diaper sitting on the toilet, I would say, okay, sometimes is good. Try for more. So they might need to sit a little bit longer. I don't know how long to tell you they should sit. maybe like up to an hour sometimes with poop stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're doing it sometimes, so it's not about being in their bed and waiting for you to leave the room
But it
and
sounds
they're
like it
pooping
is.
alone. But I think that they're saying that they poop sometimes in the diaper while sitting
No,
on
they
the
say for who waits until nap time or bedtime to poo in the diaper.
Okay. Well,
So
yeah.
if in fact that's true,
Mm-hmm.
they never poo anyplace else.
Mm-hmm.
They always just poo at nap time or bedtime. The good news is he's got really good control over poo,
Good point.
right?
Mhm.
Like he waits. Oh, I'm lying down. I've got my diaper on
Mhm.
now. Okay. So the good news is he's got good control.
Mhm.
The bad news is he's got good control to poo in the diaper.
Yeah. You might, this also could be the exception to, we said before when we were answering a round of questions, we always would recommend a diaper for nighttime. If this person's not actually, diaper for nap time, if this person's not actually needing it to pee in over nap, you might consider removing it for nap. They might not need the diaper for nap, and if you remove it and they're in underwear like a loose pant or something, they might hold their poop until later, and then you've got a good window to try to work on pooping in the toilet, like maybe before bed. So they're more likely to really need to go. It's a tough one without knowing more about the situation, but also if they're still napping, they might be kind of young. You might need to give them a little time, but I'm not sure. This is a tricky one without knowing more.
Yeah, some of these are just like we need more, almost need more information.
Yeah.
How much water do you recommend a child 6 to 12 years old should be drinking a day? If you're doing rapid toilet training,
a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot,
Mhm.
a lot. 100 milliliters, what's that, a half a cup?
Yeah.
Half a
Yeah,
cup
almost,
every
half hour.
or
Mhm.
so, right? I mean, really, like sip, 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 a lot,
Yeah.
right?
I think
If you're doing
yeah.
the long way,
Doesn't
whatever, it doesn't matter, because it's you're not pushing fluid so much.
Yeah, I think this question came up in the chat just in general, like when Pat was talking about the long way. So just to clarify, the long way, you don't push fluids.
No.
So just if you're asking what's a normal amount for a 6 to 12-year-old, we don't know. Like what people drink different amounts of liquid. I'm not sure a general guideline for a 6 to 12-year-old. Just something to chat with your pediatrician about.
Google it.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know. We
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
In RTT, I know you have to basically stay home and run the training all day, but what about the long way? How long should training sessions be to be successful? So the long way, ideally, you run it all day, right? You know what your intervals are. You're taking the person at regular intervals from morning till night. If that's not possible, for whatever reason, at the end of the training period, whenever that is, he's back in diapers and you're not worrying about it. So if the best you can do, for instance, if you're training at school, you're probably training from 9 to 3, I mean, give or take, right? And then if he's not being trained at home, he's in diapers at home, but so however long you can. The longer the better for both ways, right? But if there's a reason that you can't do it all day, then something's better than nothing. With respect to leaving the trainer in their clothing until the next scheduled interval, can you speak in greater detail as to how you address caregivers who express concerns about dignity and precautions? Okay, so this is a great question. These are all great questions. Thank you for asking them. Yeah, absolutely. If having wet or soiled clothes on, especially in a classroom environment, is in the least bit problematic because of odor, because of appearance, because of anything, don't do it. Do not do it, right? I said, if you can, do it. But if you can't, and that's a situation where you can't, just don't do it. And if skin irritation is an issue, don't do it. As soon as you know the person's wet or soiled, change them neutrally, clean clothes, done like dinner. Okay? Never compromise the person's dignity for the sake of anything that we've said.
No.
Right?
Yeah, that
like
trumps everything
never,
else.
ever in the whole wide world. Right? And I would even go a bit further than that. If there are parts of what we've suggested that are uncomfortable for a family to have happen to their child or their teenager or their adult son or daughter. In other words, if the family goes, oh, I don't like that part of it. So don't modify what we've done so the family's comfortable. I mean, you know, this is a issue that has layers of stuff here. I mean, I talked about trauma as a potential overriding issue, but culture is also an overriding issue, and we need to be incredibly respectful about that. So if there's parts of any of these procedures that don't resonate with a family or don't resonate with a school staff, they go like, we can't do that, or that won't fit in our context, be sensible and make some modifications, right? Be sensible and make some modifications that still accomplish the same thing, but in a different way. There's lots of ways to get to Rome, right?
Yeah, I've worked with a couple families who, for religious reasons, they wanted to really kind of thoroughly wash the trainees' sort of genitals after they would pee or poop really quickly. It was important to them. And as you've heard us say, usually it's really critical to us that the reinforcer is delivered so immediately. So I worked with, in all those situations, those families to go, okay, I'm going to hand them the reinforcer, and then you can get in there and help with the washing while they're enjoying it. Like, so we figured out a way to make that work in those situations. And it's possible. There are some sort of non-negotiables about the procedures that we've given you, and we think you know what those are. Hint, it's the reinforcers. They're really important. But there's other things that can be tweaked and moved and made to work for context. We're giving you the best case scenario, the things we really recommend, but we know the world is a real world.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The school, they want to do training and they need the school to sort of buy in, but the school is really worried about accidents at school. So I just thought it would be a good one to talk about. Yeah, what do you think about that? And just want to leave them with something on that.
Well, yeah, I don't quite know what that means. I mean, there may be accidents at school.
Yeah.
If the kid's not trained at school, there are already accidents at school. Maybe the issue is the school doesn't want to put the kid in underwear because they're afraid.
I think that's what it is.
Of the accidents.
Yeah.
And the solution is you got to get some wearable pants that will go over the underwear so that his outer clothes are not, compromised. And we gave you that website yesterday. There's probably others as well.
Yeah, I think it's a plastic pants
I think
issue.
It's the plastic pants issue. Yeah.
And you also maybe, if you've just sort of, like collaborating between homes and schools is something ACT will give you. There are other videos and workshops to talk about that. It's a very complex issue, right? And if you're a parent communicating to the school, hey, we really want to tackle toilet training, one of the first things that can come up is the school will go, we really have to be careful about accidents in this setting. Some districts, some schools have policies where they really want to watch that. It's like a hygiene issue, sanitizing accidents, a staffing issue, who's going to clean it up, who's going to take the training and train. There's so many variables that can be involved. So not just mentioning it in passing, but presenting it in a meeting format and saying, here are the set of strategies we're using at home. Here's how we think they can transfer to school. Making it a team effort and not just something that you chat with in passing can really help and can give everybody realistic expectations. Yeah. Like Pat was saying, we hate it when it's pointing fingers, right? It's, well, the school doesn't want to help us. Well, the parents aren't doing anything. We see it all the time. So yeah, working together on this issue can be really critical. It's not going to generalize easily in most situations. So people have to put their
There are
heads
actually
together.
a number of questions about advocating with families, like school doesn't want to have anything to do with toilet training, and some kids are being refused access to school because they're unable to stay dry, but he's fully trained at home, and what do I do? I mean, the folks at ACT, Autism Community Training, are actually like way better experts than we are, frankly, at helping parents advocate for appropriate services. In our opinion, it's you know, if it's a priority for the parents for the kid to be trained at school, denying access to school because he's not trained is obviously really problematic. But how you work with the school staff to help them come to that conclusion is a delicate matter, and something, you know, banging on the table won't work.
Yeah.
And begging and pleading probably won't work. So how do we work around that? I would ask the ACT folks for advice about that, because they're the
Totally.
really experts on advocacy more than us.
Yeah.
I mean, we're pretty good at it, but they're experts.
Yeah,
at it.
ask them.
Once the bed pad gets wet, can it be used again on the same night, or do you have to have a second bed pad?
Oh, good question.
Ooh.
No, it's plasticky. It's you can wipe it off and it'll be completely dry like instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some questions about kids who touch themselves a lot.
Oh, I saw those.
Yeah, who touch themselves a lot when they have underwear on, but not so much diapers or pull-ups, especially older kids.
Oh, it's a common problem, all right.
You want to talk about that?
Sure, I will. Okay, one is, if you have any questions about sort of sexual behavior in people with ASD, ACT is soon to announce a fabulous workshop coming up in June with Landa Fox, which you must attend. I will be there. So if you have a teen or someone approaching puberty, it's going to be awesome. Like, for any issue like this, you got to go. It's on ACT's website. Sign up. Done. But in a toilet training context, this is a very common issue, especially with people with male anatomy. So they're not used to the exposure of their penis often. And in rapid toilet training, they're sitting on the toilet a lot. So we see a lot of touching. So this is an issue where typically in practice, we work with families on what they would normally do and say around that, and we're really respectful of their kind of boundaries. But usually there's a satiation effect with this too. So we sometimes find in the first hour or two of training, there's very frequent touching of genitals, and then it goes down over time. So the novelty wears off of exposure. So that's often what happens. The other thing is, this is a great situation for a TV tray in the training context. So if you cover up visually the genital area with a tray that slides over their lap, the problem most often totally goes away. And you put something on top of the tray that's also really cool to interact with, like an iPad or a Lego set or whatever it is they like to do. So we're redirecting. That's the main strategy to use in training. But if it's a really pervasive issue where it's not just about exposed genitals, but if they're in underwear and pants, they're kind of digging into their pants frequently, then I think Landa's workshops are great. She's going to touch on some things like that.
I would imagine,
Yeah.